Okay, I'm back for another intriguing, emotional reading from Robert Webb's autobiography, How Not to Be a Boy. It's been an interesting read so far, so I'm looking forward to get back into it. So yeah, starting with chapter 4 today. We'll see how far we get into it. These streams have been a bit of a mess. Getting interrupted with lots of interesting chats and just my own thoughts responding to what I'm reading, what it provokes in me. So each of the chapters I've noticed he has titles of the chapters correlating to stereotypes around, how boys are supposed to be. So it's been an interesting look, definitely going through this book and getting his analysis and perspective on his life, how these things impacted him. I've definitely enjoyed reading this book so far. So anyway, without further ado, let's dig in. This is chapter 4, titled Boys Are Brave. Boys are brave. So let's hear in what ways he failed to live up to this stereotype, because that seems to be the theme of the chapters. Okay. I promised you, Dad, not to do the things you've done. I walk away from trouble when I can. Now, please don't think I'm weak. I didn't turn the other cheek. And Papa, I sure hope you understand. Sometimes you gotta fight when you're a man. Kenny Rogers, Coward at the County. So, Noi, begins Mr. Jennings in an accent which reminds me of the times when my heart would sink as I realized the TV show Why Don't You would be coming from the Belfast studio. On Monday, we asked the question, what is physics? Okay, I'm not sure that I can do a Northern Irish accent. I'm not good at doing Irish accents. I think they're lovely. There's something about them, and sometimes, I can do a little bit of one if I'm hearing it, but it's not one that I can really put on. And I don't like, mimicking people's accents. I find it weird. Like I had this really close English friend who I remember he visited me a couple times, and we're still friends to this day. But yeah, he visited me like when I lived here in Portland years ago, and we went out somewhere, and somebody, like one of the bartenders, we went to this bar to eat. Really, it was like one of those type of joints, and the barmaid started like mimicking his accent. And then he came to visit me when I lived in Arizona, and yeah, they were doing it to him there. And I just remember, like, when I went to the UK, nobody made fun of my accent. Like, nobody was putting on an American accent, and I know they can. I know they do that sometimes. Like, so it was just interesting to me. And yeah, even my boss did it. It was so funny. Like, he came into my workplace one day. I think I don't remember the reason why, but yeah. And yeah, my boss was like, he wasn't even Cockney, but she did like a Cockney accent back to him, and I was like mortified. And he played it off well, but yeah, she was like, oh man, I wish I had an accent. And I was like, you do, you have an American accent. So anyway, insight. Yeah, I wish I had an accent. Girl, you got one. Calm down. I mean, I know I do. I know that I sound like a West Coaster, like for sure, like totally for sure. But so what is physics? And on Tuesday, we asked the question, what is biology? And so, he pauses meaningfully, what do you think I'm going to ask you now? What do you think I'm going to ask you now? That is a thick accent. I have no effing idea what he's going to ask me now. He might as well be talking Spanish. Xenophobia is too grand a word for it. Teetering on adolescence. I'm still basically alarmed at the sound of anyone who doesn't sound exactly like me. Actually, I do know what he's going to ask because it says on my timetable that this is chemistry. Shall I put my hand up? But what would be the point? It's obvious that I'm going to hate this science subject as much as the other two. We're in the general lab as opposed to the science lab, the biology lab, the chemistry lab, the domestic science lab, the physics lab, or the maths lab. See, there we go with that maths, making math plural. I like that they do that though, maths. It doesn't really work with the American, but it sounds so natural when they say it, like they've been saying it their whole lives or something. The sudden eruption of labs in my life is deeply unwelcome. Mr. Jennings has eased himself onto a bench, one plump buttock at a time, and is dangling his legs playfully while he waits for someone to answer his stupid question. Why, I wonder, have they bothered turning science into 3 different subjects if all 3 are going to be taught by this Pratt? He's calling his teacher a Pratt. Oh my goodness. I mean, he seems nice. But science now is a galaxy away from science fiction. When are we going to talk about rockets? Little nerd Fauntleroy is peeved. And so, yeah, in the last chapter, he referred to himself as Lord Fauntleroy and how he had this kind of privileged status because his stepfather always wanted a girl and he was such a pretty little boy that he kind of made up for that in some ways, and he was spoiled in a lot of fashions. And his mother didn't have to work when he was small, so she got to read to him. So he got all this special treatment and attention that his older brothers didn't get. So he kind of came out spoiled. So it's interesting that, he's calling himself Nerd Fauntleroy. Hi, Danny P. Good to see you. Welcome back to the channel. The maths lab, at least, is just a classroom. Unfortunately, what it lacks in farty gas taps, red-hot gauzes, and lethal glassware, it more than makes up for by being full of maths. This teacher, Mr. Bandine, has barely introduced himself before he's crouching next to me for a remedial one-to-one about the cruel mysteries of long division. It's an infinitely quieter and more patient do an 8, do a 2, but the old panic is still there. Mr. Bandine's breath and I become so well acquainted over that first term that I can tell you with confidence that he takes sugar in his coffee. Oh, interesting. How do you all take your coffee? How do you drink your coffee? I drink mine just with cream, but I don't put sugar in it. I mean, every now and then I'll get a coffee, a latte that has a flavoring in it or something, or, something kind of like that. But day to day, my coffee is just plain with cream. I used to put sugar back in it years ago, but I gave it up and found it was a really good way to stop intaking so much sugar. So anyway, thinking people drink these sugary concoctions every single day, it really does add up. But anyway, it's a mixed school, but it's the rest of the boys that seem to look forward to maths, the freaks, or more accurately, the normal boys. I'm the freak. I'm the frightened, ungrateful, resentful freak, and I've already decided that Bunsen burners and decimal points have been sent to destroy me. Seven of us from that year of Coningsby Junior School have passed our 11 plus. Or to put it another way, 7 out of about 30 of us have managed to attain a sufficiently high score in a random quiz based on a meaningless version of an IQ test, which in 1984 had already been discredited for over 20 years. We are split into the 3 forms in the first year and mixed with other apparently magnificent 7s or 8s from other primary schools in the area. My form teacher is Mrs. Broccoli, who also teaches us French. She pins her short hair with a severe-looking grip, and I suppose she's somewhere in her 40s. As her bright blue eyes range over the class and fix us one at a time, she makes it clear without quite spelling it out what she requires from Form 1B. Respectful silence when she's talking, cheerful replies to light-hearted inquiries, thoughtful answers, intelligent questions. These are the rules. They are good rules. But deviate from them too widely, and those blue eyes will nail you into your chair, and you will receive a 5-minute monologue detailing exactly why you have let yourself down. You don't mess with Mrs. Broccoli. Her last name is Broccoli. It's spelled Broccley, but it sounds a lot like the vegetable to me. League of Her Own superstar Felicity Bryan has naturally made the cut, and I start to notice something about at least half of these other grammar school kids. They sound like Felicity. They sound like people on the news rather than people in Lincolnshire watching it. They pronounce the A in fast to rhyme with farce. Fost. Farce. Fast. Fost. Okay, so they sound posh essentially, and they talk proper. They don't have that dyed-in-the-wool working class Northern English accent that's so interesting when you come across it. I love those accents though. I love those really thick accents. They're beautiful. When you hear people talking them, I'm always like. And, the people I've known who've had them, they're very intelligent people, a lot of them. But there's something about that accent that's very harsh. And that you can definitely see in England, there is kind of a prejudice against it. I suppose it's the same way that there are accents in the U.S. that are kind of associated with a lack of intelligence as well. I mean, how often do you put on a Southern or hear people put on a Southern accent to indicate slowness or a lack of intelligence? That's really common. And I think they have a similar sort of thing with Northern accents. And not completely, but yeah, it's very common that there's this prejudice against them, or they'll, make fun of these accents. So anyway, they talk about something at home called a bedroom rather than a bedroom. After lunch, they put their knives and forks together at an angle with the handles resting at 7 or 8 o'clock rather than straight down towards 6. They don't seem all that worried about what's happened to Zammo because they don't watch Grange Hill. Wilbur Chatterton has been to Tuscany. It is rumored that Felicity Bryan has a piano at home. They are the first people with their hands up. They aren't always the smartest, but they are always the most talkative. And the more they talk, the smarter they get. Who are these people? What about the distinguished Southern gentleman? Well, that's a thing, but not all accents are the same. And I think even to this day, even somebody who has a refined Southern accent would still be looked at, or they would favor a more, at least in the U.S., they would favor a more, Midwestern accent. They definitely, it's not just the South that gets that too. If you have a very thick, Californian accent, for example, that can be used as well, or that can be seen as kind of indicative of a lack of intelligence. For example, the Valley Girl accent, which for some reason I've struggled with having to a bit of a degree. Anyway, yeah, so Or my mother, for example, has a very thick New York accent. And let me tell you, that's not perceived well across the country. Like you come over here talking like that, you're going to get noticed, you're going to stand out, and you're going to be seen as aggressive and abrasive, even if you're not necessarily so. So and I mean, in Canada, they have accents too. Think about like the Newfies, for example, or, I'm trying to think. I don't know though I don't really know if there's like a similar situation though in Canada, like where certain regions have sort of a prejudice against them, or their accents are used to denote a lack of intelligence, or there's that kind of perception about them. Maybe you can enlighten me about that. Because I know there's different accents, but I don't know much about how they're perceived. I know that Albertans aren't viewed well. Anyway, I'm off. Hi, Zenny. Welcome to the show. Okay, so let's continue with this book. All right. Carl Billingham is one of them. He sits next to me and won't shut up. He has freckles and nobody likes him, but that only seems to make him even more irrepressibly chatty and irritating. He draws on my hand when I'm not looking. What? I try ignoring this, but if I ignore it for too long, then he gets to finish his doodle, and I've got a Nazi swastika on my hand. I haven't yet fully, again British, I haven't yet fully absorbed the bad news about the Nazis, but I understand a swastika on your hand is not a good look. This is a whole new level of annoying. Tellis would have just drawn a cock or maybe some boobs. You knew where you were with Tellis, but he's at Gartree. I see lots of Carl Billingham because I obey the strange law that says you're supposed to hang out with the person you sit next to. Oh, wow. At morning break, most of the 1B boys end up milling around in the main hall watching 6 formers doing their S-word breakdancing. I don't like that word. You would like Trump to invade Canada. Yeah, y'all are a mess up there. We're praying for you down here. I tell you what, it's been coming a long time, though. I spent time in Vancouver around some of the, well, I don't even want to get into all that, but what? Okay, wow, that was interesting. I don't know why that fell. Okay. Nobody wants to not like, and I can't even imagine that, like, the person sitting next to you is just drawing on your hand. What a weirdo. Like, wow, what a weirdo. But it was the 80s. I guess kids had less to do. Ghost alert. Oh man, you know what? I was praying so hard last night. I woke up in the middle of the night and I don't even want to get into it. We'll probably do a stream this weekend. I haven't had much paranormal activity in this house or in this apartment. I did when I first moved in. I did have a pretty incredible, like, vivid dream that was very real. So, and I thought it was pretty paranormal, but I don't know. Yeah, I was doing some pretty serious, like, prayer last night in the middle of the night, so I don't know. I wish you hadn't said that. Now I'm all like scared and nervous. I'm not scared, but definitely not scared. But I hadn't really thought about it being paranormal, y'all. Gosh, what are you guys saying? Yeah, you can't time me. Well, Zenny didn't time you out, though. Wasn't that Hake, Frederick? Didn't Hake time you out? I remember him saying that you were, like, mentally torturing Zenny or something. I was laughing so hard. I was like, mental torture. Mental torture. But, Tar Baby Yoda didn't get timed out for what he said to me. And he said something very disturbing to me in Joelle's chat. I need to get modded again. I can't believe it. Nobody came to help me. I was accosted with something very vulgar. Mental abuse. That's what it is. Mental abuse. Nobody came to my rescue, though, and I was mentally abused. I'm going to complain. And then Mr. Pink has the gall to call in. Oh, it was Zenny. Oh, okay. So Zenny did. Oh, well then, Frederick, you probably got what you were, don't mess with a mod that way. I don't want to repeat what he said to me. It was nasty. It was sexual, as usual. Don't believe in ghosts. I don't know about, well, what am I, you weren't around, Zenny. And what am I going to do? Bring it up later? It's not worth it by then because the damage has already been done. Ugh. I hate thinking about it now. Why he got to put that image in my head? And he did the emojis. He did the emojis and everything. Let's get back to the book. Let's get back to my smart autobiography written by an English comedian. Okay, y'all? That's much nicer than thinking about what happened today in the chat. Okay, let's see. Okay, so they're doing their he calls it bad S-word breakdancing, meaning it's bad. Carl Billingham can do a passable caterpillar, which wins everyone's grudging respect for a couple of minutes, but then he rejoins us for the main business of staring listlessly at the sixth form boys trying to spin on their heads. We do it every morning. We don't know why. One of the boys will have taped the top 40, and some songs will be more breakdance appropriate than others. Shaka Khan's I Feel For You, for example, seems to work much better than No More Lonely Nights by Paul McCartney. Indeed. Some of the sixth form breakdancers carry on regardless, like they can't hear the difference. You don't stop breakdancing just because the music's wrong. That would look queer. At home, my brothers have reacted to my new QEGS, Queen Elizabeth's Grammar School status, about as well as I expected, which is to say Mark is proud and pleased, and Andrew takes it as a personal affront. Generally, the dynamic between Mark, 17, Andrew, 16, and me, 11, is like a Tom and Jerry cartoon. Tom the cat, Andrew, chases Jerry the mouse, me, all around the place until the bulldog Spike, Mark, makes an unexpected appearance to give Tom a thump. One tea time, I managed to tear a slice of bread into 5 jagged pieces by trying to butter it straight from the fridge. Andrew is thrilled. Grammar school education, and he can't even butter a slice of bread. I feel like pointing out that they don't actually teach us how to butter bread, and that I was exactly this much of a klutz last August, and it didn't seem to bother him then, but I don't. I don't give Andrew witty retorts because A, I'm not that witty, and B, he still towers over me, and you never know what he's going to do. He would never hurt me, but I try to avoid earning one of his hard stares. Also, if I'm sitting at the kitchen table, he's incapable of passing behind without tapping me on the head. This can be quite a light tap, or at the other end of the scale, he just pushes my whole face into a bowl of Ready Break, which I assume is some sort of awful English breakfast cereal. You've never seen my hair so tame? Is it that tame? I don't know. It's just, what are you talking about? What does that emoji mean? Is that a good emoji? Is it bad? I don't have tame hair. You all know my hair is not tame. Okay? It's many things, but tame it is not. Anyway. Okay, so most of the time we get along well enough, and I look forward to Tuesday tea times when we go into his and Mark's bedroom and watch Monkey or The Water Margin on their portable black and white telly. Andrew used to have a big poster of ABBA standing in front of a helicopter on his side of the room, but he's replaced that with a rather less amiable prospect of Sid Vicious. Ooh. There's also a diagram of a man in his underpants with the various karate strike points and vulnerable spots helpfully labeled. After Monkey has finished, Andrew will usually turn to me and say, "Time for beatings," and we have some kind of play fight, which usually ends with me hitting my head on a chest of drawers and trying not to cry. Ugh. Ugh. Y'all. Oh dear, Sabrina. Your best friend has randomly become a neo-Nazi. Is it random or was it, I'm sure there was a process. How did it happen? Fred. Oh my goodness. Oh dear. I mean, I don't know what to advise or, even she started dating neo-Nazis and she has BPD. Oh my. Yeah, BPD's okay. BPD is an interesting one. They tend to be drawn to very extreme people. You notice that they are very drawn to that. No, I mean, maybe no. There's people who are like involved. I don't know. And it depends on where you are, Frederick. There's a lot of people like that in the Northwest, for example. So I don't know. I would be concerned. I would be concerned. I mean, I would be very uncomfortable in an environment like that where, I've seen it happen with some women where they'll start dating a guy or get married to or involved with that. And then they get sucked into that world. And all of a sudden, this totally nice, normal woman starts using racial slurs and just saying really nasty things out of nowhere about different races of people. And I think it's disturbing, honestly. I don't think that's appropriate. And now she only talks about her IQ and race science. Oh, God. Oh, God. Yeah, that's uncomfortable. Well, I don't know. I find with the racists, they usually believe that women have very low IQs comparatively. At least they're like, God, I remember this dumb guy being like, your IQ is probably like this or that. And it's like, whatever. I mean, it's just, I don't think that people value sit around doing this kind of stuff, honestly. I just don't. It's all a big distraction. I mean, I'm sorry about your friend, but maybe it's for the best that you have some distance with her. I don't know what else to say. I mean, that sucks. But she can't be weak in herself and she needs to overcome her fallen state. She can't be, adopting the personality of every guy that pays a bit of attention to her. You know what I mean? Like, if she's not her own person and she doesn't know what she believes and she's just any person that she's around, she just absorbs, I don't know, character matters. And it sounds like she doesn't have a stable character. What is on my face? I did eat something earlier and I'm wondering, do I have food on my face? I didn't notice it. I was in the mirror a little bit ago. I didn't notice anything. Well, anyway, let's get back to him fighting with his brothers. Okay. Okay, let's see. I don't mind the occasional bump on the head, but the grammar school thing is clearly going to be a permanent pain in the arse. He can't even butter a slice of bread is the opening line in a show that will run and run. It's called Clever Boys Don't Have Any Common Sense. Andrew has a lead part in the original cast, but he's hardly alone. Dad, who seems to have forgotten he went to the same school, as well as Derek, Nan, John, colleagues from part-time jobs, some of Mum's friends, and even Mum herself will all join the chorus at various times. Okay, so he's basically being teased for having gotten into a grammar school instead of having to go to the tech school, basically, that his older brothers ended up going to. Teasing clever boys for being impractical is part of a wider ambivalence around boys and education. And you know what? Yeah, education of boys is a problem. I have noticed that. I have seen that. And it's interesting to. I was at a conference, church conference. It was the American Baptist regional conference a couple of years ago. And one of the speakers, he talked about how he was from a local Christian college that has recently, well, I guess it's no longer Christian technically, but, they still have a lot of those, it has that history and a lot of those values, and it's still attended by primarily Christians, and most of the professors are as well. But he was talking about the problem of men in higher education and the fact that women dominate so much more. And statistically, he was talking about how much they're doing there to actually keep the gender parity equal, and to make sure that they're not educating more girls than boys, because boys just aren't getting higher educations like girls are, which I thought was like, he's like, he said it straight up. He was like up there and like, no bones about it. He was like, this isn't good. He's like, why isn't it good? He's like, because for marriages to work and for families to work, the partners have to be equally yoked. And if women are more educated than men, the marriages are not going to work. And I was like, dang. I mean, I hadn't really, heard somebody in that world talk about it so much and talk about it as a problem. So it's just interesting now that he's kind of talking about the issue of educating boys and how, like, even being too educated as a man can be seen as emasculating. Anyway, I'm liking this book. It's really provoking a lot in me, but because it does, I feel like I go on for too long. But anyway, let's continue. Okay. All through our primary school years, we are aware of the stereotype that boys will be boys, that we can't sit still, that we're loud and cheeky and unruly and disruptive, that we have too much testosterone to concentrate, that we don't like reading as much as girls and are much happier with football than with a book. I think it's quite likely that these beliefs affect the academic life of boys, and that some boys dually live down to those expectations and can hit their GCSEs still thinking that maleness and studying is an awkward fit and that reading is still basically for gaylords. Even at QEGS, where we were constantly told we were super duper and tremendously lucky, a boy and a girl who came top of their class would each need a different excuse. If accused of intelligence, the girl would be expected to shrug it off and say she just worked very hard. If accused of diligence, the boy would be expected to claim that it was all done at the last minute, and he just happens to be quite good at that particular subject. It's okay as long as you didn't make an effort. It's not okay to be a girly swat. I'm not sure exactly what SWAT means. I know it's a put down. In my case, it's not like I had much to talk down. My average exam score that first summer put me 17th in a class of 24. There were 2 boys in the top 5, Pete Garvey and Russell McAllen. I wondered how they would handle this weird status of being clever boys. They handled it bloody quietly, is how they handled it. Mark is trying to get into the bathroom. My brothers argue all the time, but are loudest on a Friday night when they're getting ready to go out. I get a vicarious thrill from the potency in the air as they separately anticipate an enjoyable evening of sex and violence at Coningsby Community Center. The soundtrack to the row about who is taking too long in the bathroom will depend on who won the row about whose music is going to blare from their shared records player. Status quo if it's Mark, the Sex Pistols if it's Andrew. Come on, Andrew, how long are you going to be, you twat? Bog off, Snap, I'm washing me hair. I told you what would happen if you called me that again. Ooh, I'm scared. You won't want this water, I've just shat the whole bath. Right, I'm coming in. Get lost, you queer, I'm still in the bath. Unlock this door, you poof. Mom, Snap's gone queer and he's coming to rape me. Man, I don't know how I would react if my sons were talking this way. I'm trying to imagine having 3 boys and the 2 oldest are talking this way. Mom, he's trying to rape me. He's like, he's gone queer and he's coming to rape me. I don't know. I'd be pretty horrified. I'm like trying to imagine it in my mind. Like, how do you respond to that? In the right way. Mom from the kitchen. Stop swearing in front of Robert. Do you hear that, Snap? Mom says stop fucking swearing in front of Robert. Andrew has made himself laugh so much that he'll have to come out quite soon to get his asthma inhaler. He knows the consequence of winding Mark up like this will probably involve some kind of slap. But in the moment, he doesn't care. I suppose in the moment, a Sex Pistol never cares about messing with the status quo. I'm not really familiar with Status Quo as a band. Is this a library certified book? What do you mean library? What does library certified mean? Library certified. I'm sure you can pick it up in certain libraries. What do you mean? Library certified? It is story time. The only time I hear Andrew say something nice about Mark during this period is when he tells me about the other night at the community center when Mark got beaten up by a woman. Hey, baby. Now you want some? Hey, what you doing? Hey, pretty boy. How are you? Hey, you. Hey, baby. Hey. Yeah. She had become enraged for all I know, perfectly good reason, and attacked Mark. Instead of fighting back, unthinkable, or even protecting himself, surely reasonable, he just stood there with his hands behind his back and let her beat him black and blue. Everyone was watching, said Andrew. Yeah, I must say that was quite good. I tried to imagine the physical courage required to show that much contempt for someone and begin to grasp why Mark scares the crap out of everyone. God knows, he has a sense of theater. The Mark versus Andrew show can be entertaining, but as we all get older, the joke starts to wear thin. Neither of them can offer a comment or ask a question without expecting a sarcastic or hostile response from the other. I doubt this is unusual for teenage brothers. It's just a pity they had to keep it up for another 30 years. A violent father didn't guarantee violence, but it didn't help. An absent father didn't guarantee very angry young men, but that didn't help either. The masculine insistence on competition and one-upmanship didn't make a genuine friendship impossible. But to put it mildly, that really didn't help at all. Hi. Darling, hi. Somebody is demanding my attention. Excuse me. We're having a feline interlude. Hi. You got right up in it. Hi, baby. You need some attention. Do you get ignored? All you want is to love and be loved, and you get ignored. Don't put your butt on camera. You're not putting that butt on camera. I ain't having it. We are not having no kitty butt on camera. We are not having that. Thank you. What kind of show you think this is? What kind of show you think I'm running? Look at that handsome. Yes. Look at that little handsome boy. So handsome. Yes, so handsome. You're such a good kitty. You're such a good kitty. Yes, toucans on cam. He has made his appearance. Hi, Yoda, and hi, Original King Alpha, and delighted to be here. I look so studiously alluring. Oh my goodness. Reading to the class. Thank you. Yeah, I haven't worn this dress in a long time. It's a little big, actually. Kind of had it, when I was a bit bigger, and I've noticed the sleeves are a little bit funny how they lay on me, but it was nice to wear today. It's a pretty dress, nonetheless. It's got little horses on it. Do you see? Little horses. He is cute as a mug. He is my little kitty, and I love him. Look at the little claws. He's a good boy. He's a good boy. There's so many good kitties in this world, but you are the best kitty I've ever seen. Oh my goodness. You got to be a good kitty up to a point, but this is ridiculous. Y'all. Can you believe this? Can you believe what a good kitty this is? Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. You're so good. Hopefully I'll pet him until he's irritated, and then we can get back to the book. Intermission. Cat feline intermission. Are you a little kitty? You're my little kitty. Oh, were you being neglected? All he wanted was some attention. Yes. I love this cat. He's something special. You need a little brush, don't you? You got a little funny fur right here. Yeah, what's your fur doing right here? Looking a little funny. We don't want you looking funny. What a day, y'all. What a day. It's warm today. I was surprised. I only went out for a brief little break. I ordered some food since I didn't take my lunch break, and then it was like 2 something, and it was 3 something, and I was like, you know what? I'm not going to take my lunch break, but yeah. So anyway, am I going to reach out to Judge Joe Brown to be a guest on my show? I don't know how to even contact him, and I don't know what I would even ask him about. I thought you were joking about that. Judge Joe Brown. I mean, what would I talk with him about? Judge Joe Brown. I suppose it would be cool. Yeah, it's cool to think about, but I don't know. Next week, I'm going to have my friend Phil Chandler on the show. He's going to be here on Tuesday evening. Oh, I don't want to talk about her anymore. Kamala. I mean, the only reason I wanted to talk to Caleb about it was because he's my friend, He's super hot in the mid-Atlantic states. Okay. Base Judge Joe. You think he would come on? Well, everyone's saying he would come on. Does he just speak to anyone? I mean, I'm not just anyone. I am somebody. I may have fallen from grace, but I'm still somebody. But yeah, we're going to have Phil Chandler. He's a artist. He's an illustrator. He worked on Rupert the Bear and Babar back in the day. And he has his own channel on here on YouTube. So Yeah, and he's a Canadian. I don't know if Zenny's still here, but he would connect me with JLP. What are you talking about? I'm already connected. I'm already in the JLP universe. Hey, baby. Have you had enough attention yet? Have you had enough attention yet? Can I get back to my book? Oh, I know. You want me all to yourself. That's fair. It's fair to want your human all to yourself. That's normal. Is it normal? You're getting your hair all over me. Dang, I can feel it. I can feel it on my face. Why do you shedding so much? Is it hot? You shedding because it's hot? He has super fine fur. No, you don't eat that plant. That's not for you to eat. I didn't get that for you to eat. Hey, 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 hey. What you doing? You want to grass up to me? You better put that paw down. I ain't playing with you. Oh, hell no. Hell no. He's grassing up. He's grassing up. Did you see that? He's lifting his little paw. You gonna get aggressive with me? Put that paw down. Put that paw down. Hell no. Get down. Down. I'm putting up with you. Get down. Hell no. Can you believe that? I'm sorry you all had to see that. I'm sorry you all had to witness that. Do a stream and get a job. Okay, that's an interesting suggestion. Don't tell him what to do. He was eating my plant. I didn't get that plant for him to eat. He knows he's not supposed to do that. He doesn't take orders. No, but I mean, it's about respect, okay? You know, in our relationship. Yeah, he got a little, he knows I'm in control, okay? I'm sorry, there is a hierarchy in this house, okay? I let him be very dominant most of the time. But when I ask him not to do something, he better listen. I'm very fair. I asked him not to eat my plant. Hello, G. John Pa and Point Fire. God, yeah, he left a lot of. I rubbed my face on him, and now I've got like. Yeah. He's being a boy. I know. Well, we're learning how not to be a boy, dang it. From the original beta males, Robert Webb. Okay, let's get back to the book, y'all. I love your suggestions. Maybe I'll reach out. I will be reaching out to more, but yeah, next Tuesday we will be speaking with Bill Chandler, my friend, fellow YouTuber, interesting guy, and I don't know. I'll look forward to where that conversation goes. So yeah, his older brother Mark, who's like this tough guy in the community, really big reputation, got beaten up by a girl. He like basically this, woman became enraged, attacked him, and he just stood there and let him attack. See now and no. Hello, see now and no. Is he gay? Is who gay? My guest? My guest is not gay. My guest is not gay. Yeah. He's not with any. I think he's get Jill Biden's ex-husband to the show. Y'all stop. This is okay. Come on, y'all. Yeah, I don't know. I think when a woman is being extremely violent, then I think a guy should protect himself or like restrain her. Honestly, I don't like violent women. I don't think it. I think it's something that really does need to get addressed because there are a lot of women who are violent out here, and it's I don't know. It's they're not just violent with men. Joe Biden's ex-husband. Oh dear. I mean, yeah, there. It's you know, and it's just it's also it's not good because yeah, it takes advantage of men's I say it's something that takes advantage of men's desire not to hurt women. You know, which is you should never take advantage of someone else's goodness. Somebody's extending a courtesy to you. But these women just acting out, and they get away with it because guys like Mark that are just so stoic about it, just take it on the chin. Okay, but yeah, she beat him black and blue. Yeah, I must say that was quite good. I try to imagine the physical courage required to show that much contempt for someone and begin to grasp why Mark scares the crap out of everyone. God knows he has a sense of theater. The Mark versus Andrew show can be entertaining, but as we all get older, this joke starts to wear thin. None of them can offer a comment or ask a question without expecting a sarcastic or hostile response from the other. I doubt this is unusual for teenage brothers. It's just a pity they had to keep it up for another 30 years. Oh, yeah, I already read this. Okay. They get on much better these days. Now they're both around 50. All things considered, I think that's a good effort and ahead of schedule. Some men don't recover from masculinity at all. So, see, he's talking about masculinity in this denigrating way. Is Masculinity in Crisis is the title of a segment you might catch every now and again on a daytime magazine show like BBC Breakfast, somewhere in between Which Compost Bin and a report on nude zorbing. I don't know what zorbing is. I'm tempted to say that masculinity is in a crisis, but that's suspiciously neat. Still, as soon as I try to rescue the word, I find myself wondering why bother? What's it for? Has the masculine qualities. He has masculine qualities. Like what? Bravery, honesty, stoicism. That's great, but I've also seen various women exhibiting these qualities all my life. He's proud of his masculinity. Okay, well, good for him, but what's that? He's got a leather wallet. He's glad he isn't a woman. He's better at doing man things than other men seem to be. What is this word doing apart from conjuring a bunch of stereotypes about driving gloves and body odor? Dijon Pa, please. I've got to put myself out there. Y'all need to stop. I mean, I look nice when I go out. It's summer, so I'm wearing less than, I would otherwise. But come on, y'all. I've never been that kind. And I don't think that's going to catch me a husband. It's going to catch me a lot of attention from the wrong sort of men, really. Y'all, I've never had an easy time of it. I'm introverted, I'm quiet. I mean, I don't know that I'm quiet. I mean, I'm the quiet sort. It's just, have I ever danced? No, I've never been a clubber. It's not like I've never been to these places, but I'm not into that kind of life. And that's not where you find a husband anyway. Y'all, I'm working on my network. Don't act like I don't get out, but it's not the Tootsie Roll. Shush, Yoda. Please. Look. I'm sure, how many of you are single? Would I still marry a woman if she had her life together? And no, I wouldn't. Terry, as good as you can read, you shouldn't have any problems with getting a husband, Sugar Pie. That's so sweet, y'all. Y'all are very kind. Where is he? I'm smart. I'm pretty. I'm nice. I'm a catch. Where is he? Ugh. Anyway. My neighbor said I have a nice voice. That's kind. I agree, Tar Baby Yoda. I'm waiting on God to cook something up. I know what God has planned for me is better than what I can ever imagine. And I was talking with my friend's widow recently. We met up and had coffee. This was a church friend. And she was telling me about their marriage and how they came together. And it was just so beautiful how she was describing it. And it really kind of solidified in my mind, that I am on the right track and that I don't need to really worry about anything. If something's meant for me, it will come to me. But apart from that, I don't think that, at any other point in my life, I would have been ready, Yoda, Matthew tried. Matthew and I would never work, Yoda. We would not work. And we live, come on. I'm going to uproot my life and go live in Louisiana. And he's got kids. He's divorced as well. Come on. It's not right. It's not right. I have love for him as a brother. I do. I admire him as a man in a lot of ways, and I have respect for him. But it's not. He and I would not work. It's very obvious. I would be very discontent. I can tell that. If I can, look at a situation from the outside and already know the problems with it. So yeah, there's nothing wrong with him. It's just, the chemistry isn't right there. But, I have a lot of men who are interested in me. It's not as if it's well, I don't, but we have to be equally yoked. We have to be kind of going in the same direction, and they have to be somebody that I'm going to be able to serve in the right way. And, it's not that simple, oh, this person is available. So, he needs a wife that's able-bodied. You know what I mean? He needs a wife that can do more, that's more physically, capable. Yoda, stop. I don't know. Fred is he wants to have 5 wives. He's already said he wants to have 5 wives. Okay? So that's a no for me. And he's already been married and had a family. You know what I mean? He needs a Brunhilde. I'm not a Brunhilde. You know what I mean? I'm not that type. Do I support the fact that the husband is the head of the wife? Yes. I believe in that. But, not every man can be my head. And I'm not a dumb woman. I'm not dumb. I'm not easily controlled or guided. I need somebody who's matches me. You know what I mean? It's not easy to find someone, and most of the time, when I have dated or whatever, I usually get very bored because like intellectually it's not there. That's been a real issue as well. And it's not that I'm so smart, it's just that most people are so dumb. And it's like a lot of the times, I don't know. I'm not, I don't know. I know that sounds kind of funny, but you know what I mean? I need somebody who's like, it has to be, your lives have to be congruent. You have to be able to, be a good addition to somebody else. You can't be taking away from them and they can't be taken away from you. You have to give up things, of course, but it's hard. Exactly, King Alpha. And that's hard to find. And I've also had an issue with men wanting to give me less than I can give myself. A lot of men don't want to do all that. A lot of men are not, they're like, they honestly, they want you to be submissive without doing any of that. And I'm like, excuse me? Why would I put myself in a situation where as a woman, okay, as a woman who has, supported herself throughout her adulthood, right? Who has a level of independence. Why would I give up what I've built for myself to live in a situation where I'm being exploited and where I'm worse off? If I'm going to give up what I have, I want it to be for something better. That's it. And I think that's the problem a lot of women have nowadays too. It's like, because most women are used to doing it for themselves, and it's like it's a better situation. And then, because my life, of course I would love to have someone in it. I've always wanted to be married. I've always saw myself as being somebody who would have that kind of situation, but why do we always get on this subject? It's rather tedious, It takes away from the book that I should be reading. And hello, Dystopian Deep Dives. Glad to see you here. Right. That's okay. King Alpha gets it. Right. And that's what it's supposed to be. And if it's not that, then it's not a marriage made in heaven. It's made in hell. That's what you should be doing for one another. That's the idea. And you see it. And like I said, I was talking with my friend's widow, and what she described, the kind of like relationship she described, like, and they're both okay. I mean, they didn't have any kids. I think they were kind of adults when they came, like they were, I think in their 40s when they came together. I'm not sure exactly, but like they were grown and they've both been through a lot of different things, but how they came together, it made perfect sense when it did, and they totally did that for each other. They improved one another. And I think that's what it's about ultimately. Like, you have to be able to improve one another. Like, and not just in a superficial way, but in a real way. Like, you have to be able to bring that out in one another. I realize there is a meaning to life. I just have to stop being gay. Unhappy face. Well, I mean, that's something you're doing. It's not who you are. You have to break with the false identity. It's a false identity. It has nothing to do with who you are. I think everyone would like that. Indeed. Well, most people aren't trying to overcome themselves, though. Most people aren't trying to be righteous. They're not trying to overcome their fallen state. And like, as a woman, like, I don't know, I remember I called into Joel's show this week, I think. One of these days. I called into his show recently when he was talking about how you shouldn't look for a provider. And I was like, oh, hell no, I got to call in. I talked about it on my last stream or one of the recent ones. But yeah, I read the chat afterwards, or I read some of it anyway. Like once I hung up and I like went back in the chat, and somebody was like, "Oh, she just wants to lead. I could never be with a woman like her. She just wants to lead." And I was like, "Man, you don't get how much I don't want to lead. You do not even understand how much I don't want to lead. You don't understand how much I want to trust a guy, and I want to give that over to him, and I want to be in that position of not leading, because I've led in every single relationship I've been in, and it's been hell, and I've hated it. It makes me hate, it's made me hate being in relationships. I don't want to lead. It's women should not have to lead. Women don't like leading in relationships. They hate it. They resent it. Anyone who thinks that women want to lead are just insane. Like it's amazing. But the fact is most men aren't capable of leading. And then they put it on women like, oh, she just wants to lead. It's like, no. I mean, I don't want to say that women don't want to lead. I think a lot of women think they want to lead until they go through it and they actually experience what it's like to have to be the one that's in control, to have to be the one that's dominant, to have to be the one that's taking care of business. It's awful. Well, that's good, Alpha, and that's what that's what a man should do for a woman regardless. That's what a man should do for a woman regardless of how she's posturing. I mean, that's a posture that lesbians put on in the world so that, they'll get left alone. But it's good if they have men in their lives where they can drop that and actually be women, That's good. Because I know I hate that too. Like, I mean, I have a number of lesbian friends as well, and it's like sometimes they'll be doing stuff, and I'm like, guys will be in public, and guys will be offering to help, with something, and they'll be like, no, we got it, and I'm like, come on, let him do it. Let him do it. You are a woman. Let him do it. Mutual love at first sight. Oh my. Do y'all believe in love at first sight? I actually do. But I don't know. I don't know that it's always the right thing. Don't dig into your future boyfriend's past. I mean, I don't generally. I'm not, I mean, I let people tell me what they want to tell me. But I find a lot of the times when you're dating, guys always want to tell you about their past. And that's a big red flag too, because it feels like they're living there. It feels like they haven't overcome it, or it feels like, they're setting you up in some way. Like it's like a grooming tactic where they're like, oh, I dated this person. Last person I was dating was like this. And I'm really, it's kind of like setting you up like, don't be like this. And I'm just like, it's so boring and dull. People born atypical. I mean, yeah, I don't disagree with you. Yoda, stop. That's nasty. No, I'm really not interested in anyone's past. I'm interested in people's present. I mean, I don't know though, because I did kind of come to the conclusion recently that I don't want to be with somebody who's divorced. Like, I don't want to get married to somebody who's been married already. So that would be like, that would be something that would be a, thing that I'd want to know. I don't like to discuss my past that much either because I'm not living there and I don't even really care about it or think about it. Like, I mean, is that true? I don't know. Yeah. Yoda, stop. Stop. You're a nasty, nasty boy, Yoda. I have to say, you say some things sometimes that shock me. You were very nasty in Joelle's chat today with your emojis. Okay? Hi, Missing Mod. Good to see you. I know it does, Frederick. But maybe that's helpful. He's like, I write well. I write well. Moving on. Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, I was recently dating someone who I mentioned before, but he'd been divorced twice. And that was kind of like, at first, when he told me that, it was like, he was like, is that a problem? And I was like, no. But then, I kind of realized sitting and thinking about it and kind of analyzing how I felt about it and just, it doesn't feel right. Like, we're not supposed to get divorced, for one. I know. And yeah, but still looking, and then it's also like, yeah, he also is, yeah, I don't want to get too much into him. I don't want to talk about him again. So I'm going to let it go. I care about him as a person. I've agreed to be his friend and to offer that to him and to be, that in his life. But yeah, I don't think for me, I can't be with someone that has to be in a relationship. I need to be special. You can't just be dating me because I look good and I'm available and you have to have somebody on your arm. I don't trust that either. I don't like people who can't be single. Like, if you can't be single, like, I don't trust it. It's something like weird. Anyway, moving on. Let's get back to the book. Okay. And femininity, what is it? Having hair, long hair on your head, but none on your legs, under your arms, or within a square mile of your feminine lady secret. He calls it a feminine lady secret. Robert. Taste in scarves, a sense of color, the capacity to shut the F up when men are talking. What is this stuff? I promise I'm not being willfully dense about this. I don't know what the words masculinity and femininity have to offer. Avoiding them, we still have a massive language of more precise words to describe individuals and their behavior, which somehow manage not to come preloaded with a steam tanker of gender manure from the last century. If we want to say that David Beckham puts a lot of thought into his appearance, then we can say, oh, I've just done it. I didn't need to bring his sex into it or his attitude to his sex. I don't have to view his personality through the prism of his famously golden balls, assuming that they were either possible or desirable. I could say Lily Allen's songs are full of swear words, which are at odds with her femininity, or I could get a life. I don't want to spoil everyone's fun. I don't think Rudyard Kipling's poem If would be improved if the last line were not, and which is more, you'll be a man, my son. There we go with the Rudyard Kipling. Caleb mentioned him. You built a fire? Oh, how interesting. Oh, dear, Point Fire. But rather, and which is more, you'll be an unrealistic paradigm of one person's idea of human virtue, my son / daughter. That would clearly be shit. But however you feel about If, I'm fond of it. There's nothing exclusively masculine about the virtues listed. I'd have to think about that. Is there something specifically masculine about the virtues listed in the poem If by Rudyard Kipling? Kipling would probably disagree, but then so would a lot of people in 1909. But when I say that masculinity is something to recover from, I don't mean that the condition of being male is some innately fallen state. I mean that being male is terrific, but comes with a load of extra baggage that is worth noticing. Because you might be carrying a load of stuff you don't need, stuff which is getting in your own and other people's way. The uncertain pleasures of the community center are a long way down the line, and I'm in no hurry to get there. The chief joy of Friday night is getting the hell away from communal showers, conical flasks, and English. I've been looking forward to English. I thought it might involve more creative writing, but no. Bach's analysis of sentences, plus the reading of Esther Hotzig's The Endless Step under the supervision of Miss Wayne, a nice lady of about 108. Each member of the Form 1B falteringly reads another paragraph of The Endless Step. On and on we play this solemn game of tag team recital, each of us taking another nibble at the endlessness. Age 12, I hate reading out loud. It's embarrassing and I do it very badly. It's embarrassing because I do it very badly. I start nervously counting paragraphs to anticipate which one will be mine to read out. Clearly, while I'm doing this, I'm not listening to the story, but then it's quite hard to listen to the story anyway because it's being read out by children who are seeing the lines for the first time and don't happen to be professional actors. Here in the 21st century, believe it or not, I am a professional actor. And if you're listening to the audio version of this book, we could have just listened to the audio version. Dang. I'm reading it for you too, Fred. You think Yoda has an extra chromosome? Original King Alpha, my goodness. Listen to this. Speaking of English, Terri has luminous glow, that of a beautiful painting, breaking the shadow betwixt dawn and dusk, forevermore, more forever, endlessly, forevermore. You wrote that out. I don't even know. Thank you. Thank you. That's all I'll say. Thank you. That's nice. This lighting is good too, isn't it? This light, it's kind of pink. It's very lightly pink though. I'm enjoying it, but it does give me that very luminous glow. Thank you, Missing Maud. I've enjoyed your streams lately. Oh, we had a very cool one the other day. And yeah. Oh, I wanted to tell you, I'd watched most of that video, the Derek Prince video, very illuminating. I kind of I might come in and play it on Saturday in the morning if I have time. I'm going to try to, yeah, I'm gonna try to go to bed, on time Friday night and get up on time on Saturday, just so I can stream in the morning. So, because I'd like to watch that and kind of, have us, watch it together, respond, that kind of thing. Not just you, Missy Mod, but like everybody in the stream. So I'm just saying, it's an interesting one. It's on deliverance from demons. So very thought provoking, very interesting. Love it. Back to the book. I suppose. Oh wait, no, hold on. And if you're listening to the audio version of this book, you can be pretty sure I was very familiar with this paragraph before anyone pressed play and record. I suppose what Miss Wayne and other English teachers were doing was making sure that the book at least got read. I further suppose that everyone basically hates reading aloud and needs practice for mysterious reasons to do with confidence. This is me trying to be tremendously fair. However, this method is also an excellent way of putting children off books, particularly if it is a dull book, which The Endless Step may well be. I don't know. I wasn't listening. I think the story had something to do with a girl and her family coping with the day-to-day problems of their exile in Siberia. Trying to be fair yet again, I can see the value in getting a bunch of cloistered Lincolnshire kids in a cushy liberal democracy to imagine other children in much worse times and places. I just think that this only works if the young readers are enjoying the book enough to actually give an S word. Man, he uses the S word a lot. Yeah, what book was Caleb reading from? He's been reading from his one of his books lately, but was he reading from the Kamala Harris book? Because I know he's been going through one of his books. I can't bring it up to mind now, but he's like the founder of the CPI organization, the Center for Political Innovation, and I think he's been reading one of their, like a book that's kind of about their analysis of America and how to. He does it. He has a lot of interesting history. One thing I really appreciate about him is how much he knows about, just like socialist, communist history in America. A lot of people don't realize like what a big part of the zeitgeist it has been. How much it's moved and been an influence in our country, and even some of these like prominent people. And even the event that I went to, the CPI event in the Portland area last December that they had, it was a great event, and they had all of these like really interesting like American historical figures, and they do have this kind of like. I appreciate that they're coming at it from like approaching that. I don't know. I don't want to get too into it. I don't want to get off of it, but yeah. Oh my goodness, Sabrina Stem. Do you think she's gonna win? I think they'll give it to her. I don't know. I cannot stand Kamala Harris though. Man, she is embarrassing and going to be embarrassing for the country, honestly. Anyway, let's continue. In my view, no matter how hard it was for Esther Hotzig, at least she didn't have to read The Endless Step by Esther Hotzig. In that respect, she was laughing. More positively, Friday is the start of the weekend. Trudy, Nan, and John have just retired from the golf club, and I miss my dens. They've moved into a 3-bedroom terrace on a former Raft housing estate. It's just the other side of Coningsby, and so staying there now involves something very new but surprisingly fun, playing with other boys. Roger Baxter lives on the same estate. I don't get acres of space to roam around in, but I do get some company. At 12, I'm just about ready for the swap. Roger was another of the apparently magnificent seven, and I save him of space next to me on the bus on the way to QEGS, Queen Elizabeth Grammar School. Okay. I say save him a space. The bus is nearly empty at that point, and no one else ever tries to sit next to me. If they did, obviously, I would just stare out of the window and hope Roger didn't mind too much. What you do in this new plane with real people, Lark, is you get on your secondhand Raleigh grifter, trying to remember that the right handlebar twist grip is for changing gears and not to be disrespected as a pretend motorbike throttle, since you are not actually in chips, and call for a friend. Is Roger in? Hello, Robert, says Mrs. Baxter, trying not to let the dogs get out. He's on the computer, but come in. Roger has a Commodore VIC-20, which technically speaking has a much smaller memory than my 48K Spectrum, but does have the advantage of actually looking like a computer. Still, I've grown to love my Specky and treat it with almost religious respect. After each session with Horace Goes Skiing, Jetpack, or The Way of the Exploding Fist, I carefully put the Spectrum back in the box and that first revealed itself to me under the wrapping paper last Christmas Day. All right, Webb, shall we call for Telus? Roger asks. He tosses a joystick up in the air and it instantly snaps back on its cable and clatters heavily against the VIC-20, a machine which I'm then scandalized to see Roger is going to leave lying around on the carpet. There's something who gives an S word about Roger, which reminds me of my brothers, which I quite like. Yeah, nice day for the farm, I say. Nice day, he mimics, taking the piss out of my boring observation. And then in the next instant looks out of the living room window. You're not wrong, Rob. It is a nice day. Let's go. I like when he calls me Rob, as he used to at Coningsby Juniors. It's strictly Webb and Baxter on the school bus. He's in a different form, and I don't see him much at school. He doesn't even watch the shit breakdancing. Matthew Tellis, on the other hand, is at Gartree, and seems much nicer these days. Partly, I imagine to myself, because he's glad Roger and I still hang out with him. To be honest, the fact that he lives on the farm helps. In many ways, it's my golf club substitute, except quite often I seem to be the only one who thinks that what we're doing is unbelievably dangerous. Or maybe I'm just the biggest coward. I always have some urgent concern that I try to keep to myself, but then can't. The unpredictability of the wind as we make our way through a narrow pathway between 4-foot nettles, the steepness of a hill we're about to ride our bikes down, the stability of a ladder reaching up to the top of the hayloft, the wisdom of firing water pistols into this flower bush of infuriated wasps, the way this dinghy on the river has a slow puncture and I can't swim. Roger has somehow always understood this about me and never seems to mind. He usually offers some friendly encouragement. Just whack the nettles out of the way with your stick. Just write it down on your back brake. We'll wait for you at the bottom. I'll hold the ladder while you go up. I'll go up last. Yoda! Keep it PG-13. That is R-rated, honey. R-rated. I should not look up and see that kind of stuff. I don't know. You need to mind your business. That is nasty. No, you stop it. You being bad. You being a bad little troll. You don't ask people that. That's nasty. Don't be asking that. It's an honest question. He's sitting there all innocent. He's sitting there all innocent on his high chair, kicking his little feet. It's an honest question. Me. I rest my case. Yeah, you should rest your case. That's no. I'm scandalized. Come on. I don't need to be seeing that. I'm too gentle for that. The Jaspers don't care about us. No waspy stings for Webby. There's no current today, Rob. Anyway, I'll not let you drown. Why can't I be more like Roger? We had the same terrifying swimming teacher at junior school. How come Roger could take his feet off the floor of the pool? Why hasn't anyone else noticed that if you put your head underwater, everything goes dark and sounds weird, and the water goes up your nose and tries to kill you? Why can't I save him from drowning? I understood what I was supposed to think, that playing with people was better than playing with a computer, and that outside was better than inside, and that real friends were somehow healthier than imaginary ones. It's just that all this wholesomeness made heavy calls on my very limited supply of courage. How much easier to forget all this growing business and just stay at home getting better and better at Jet Set Willie. Boys gave bravery a bad name, I thought. They wanted it for stupid stuff like swimming and wasps, nettles and fighting, and not just pretend fighting, actual fighting. Kenneth Gibbs was new. He wasn't a big lad, but he was Scottish with spiky hair. Either of these attributes alone would have been enough to alarm me, but the combination had me lowering my head whenever I heard his voice. It was like sitting in a classroom with a punk Gordon Strachan. Strachan? I don't know who Gordon Strachan is. But he was gregarious and friendly enough, and he slotted himself in quickly. The trouble with Gibbs was that he kept pinching girls on the Urs. Mostly they just told him to get lost, but Gibbs was enjoying being the cheeky chappy with a precocious eye for the ladies. He wouldn't stop. None of his targets wanted to be the first to make an issue of it, which was understandable. Who wants to mention their bottom to a teacher? One lunch break, after witnessing yet another unwanted goose scene, Carl Billingham decided enough was enough. You remember Carl, the posh, freckly kid I sat next to. For God's sakes, Gibbs, just pack it in. None of the girls wants you pitching them on the bum. Just grow up. At which point Gibbs turned wordlessly to Carl and thumped him hard on the mouth. I'm glad to say that this kind of thing was rare enough to be shocking. Boys were forever hitting each other, but not in the face. Even Pete Garvey was shocked. Bloody hell, Gibbs, why did you do that for? I'm going to report you, you little twat. Not, I'm going to kill you, mind. I'm going to report you. Boy, did I pick the right school. I know, where were you? Dijon Pa. Dijon Pa. None of this is your business. Yoda, can you be respectful to the other chatters? Yoda, I'm sorry, I cannot. Yeah, Yoda is the Gibbs in chat. Yeah, Sabrina is a woman. Okay, don't ask her these kind of things. Don't speak to her in this way. It doesn't matter. Like it's. What can I say? Like, I don't like. You're in a ladies' chat. I'm reading my sophisticated book by an English comedian, mind you. And here you go. Being nasty to girls. Stop it. Saying nasty things. Fred is special. Yoda thought it was Bosco. Think of the English Canadians. Are there any English Canadians in the chat? My guest next week will be an English Canadian, actually. So look forward to that. Okay. It's afternoon registration, and Mrs. Broccoli has Ken Gibbs in a rhetorical half Nelson and won't let go. She's calm, but occasionally remembers how livid she is. She doesn't raise her voice. It's just that her voice is never going to stop. She's teaching. She's quite simply going to teach this kid to death. From what I hear, Kenneth Gibbs, you've been behaving in this offensive and disrespectful for some stand up when I'm talking to you for some time. And that it isn't just Valerie and Fiona who've been subject to this appalling nuisance. Tiffany, is it true that you've been pinched as well? Tiffany Rampling, younger sister of the famous Tess Rampling, could have done without this, but nods. It's everyone, really. I mean, all the girls. All of the girls? Mrs. Broccoli repeats unnecessarily. She's already been told it's all the girls, but fact-finding is not her current purpose, and she's only just getting started. Let's see then, hands up everyone who can honestly say they have been pinched or otherwise groped by Kenneth over the last few weeks. Kenneth Gibbs, crimson of face, shifting his weight from foot to foot, watches wretchedly as every single female hand goes up. Hey! I love Fred. What are you talking about, Original King Alpha? Allow his short bus to stop here. Fred's one of us. Fred is a sweet person. What are you talking about? He has many great qualities. Y'all don't see him, do you? Y'all don't see our Fred, but I see him. You can go over there and you can whine all you like, but you are not going outside, and that is the fact. Do you hear me? Do you hear what I'm saying right now? You are not going outside. Okay? Jesus, stop. Yoda, yeah. Ugh. Okay, every single female hand goes up. It happens in slow motion, and the unanimity, is crushing. But there is also a vulnerability about it which haunts me. Every girl checking every other girl for support. They need numbers. Mrs. Broccoli's sense of drama doesn't desert her. She's quite determined that Kenneth Gibbs will never forget this. Look around you, Kenneth. Look at the classmates that you have insulted. She actually waits for him to do this. Gibbs does his best. Then she waits even longer. He tries looking around again at the silent tableau of his accusers. This really isn't his day. All right, girls, thank you. You can put your hands down. And now, Kenneth, look at Carl. Carl is next to me with a wet paper towel over his mouth. His gum stopped bleeding about 20 minutes ago. And frankly, he's milking the situation slightly, but I don't blame him. Mrs. Broccoli is reaching her conclusion. Carl didn't have to say anything. He could have stood idly by while you continued to harass your fellow pupils, but he chose not to. He chose to intervene, not because he expected to be thanked, but because it was right. Carl is a gentleman. Well, I missed whatever the first shot was. Nero is 9. He's 9. He's only 9. Are you only 9? You 9 years old? You don't look a day over being a kitten. No, you just as kitten to me. I still see my little kitten when I look at that face. Come here. You baby. So big. Oh, thank you, Fred. See, and he's a gentleman. He drops a super chat from time to time. He's buying friends. Is that what it is? Fred has many good qualities. Apart from sharing what he has, I mean, that's another thing about Fred. He's very generous, and not just, in this regard. He's generous with all the people he associates with. Y'all need to stop. Y'all need to stop. Thank you for the donation. It serves the channel, and I appreciate it. Let's move on. Okay. She lets that last word hang in the air for a beat and then releases Gibbs from his stand-up misery. The subject is dropped and never raised again. Neither are the skirts of the girls of Form 1B, at least not by Kenneth Gibbs. This won't be the last time the word gentleman bongs its way into my brain, making my heart race and my throat constrict. This time, it's a combination of shame and envy that is doing the bonging, throbbing, and strangling. I was one of the boys who stood idly by, while Carl, no less of a physical weed than me, stepped up. Much as I would do almost anything to avoid even a minor biffing Carl got for his trouble, it would almost be worth it if the result was to be called a gentleman. It is true. I do love a gentleman. I mean, who doesn't love a gentleman? And I know, when a man is, to be a gentleman is a thing. And most guys don't really quite make the mark. But when a man is a gentleman, man, it's a gift that gives, it's the gift that keeps on giving. Y'all are inappropriate. Please. Sabrina has been here a long time. I have a diverse crowd that follow me. Please do not get personal with people. The word contains, but is not limited to, notions of chivalry and class. That is, 1, boys should protect girls, and 2, that to be gentle is to aspire to gentility, the place where only posh people understand right from wrong. That's not what Mrs. Broccoli was talking about. All she said was, boys should not disrespect girls because people should not disrespect people. They should aspire not to mere gentility, but to the greater prize, gentleness, in their manners and in their actions. Indeed, indeed. Maybe y'all should look in the mirror and ask yourself, was I a gentleman tonight? All of y'all, except for Fred. And modern gentlemen. Was I gentle today? Was I gentle in my words? And anyone willing to do this, especially at the risk of a smack in the face, is worthy of praise. In fact, it sounded to me that to be a gentleman, you needed both manners and bravery. And that thought was horribly fascinating because I thought only wimps needed manners and only tough guys were brave. That reminds me of the Smiths, right? I know it's over. It's so easy to laugh. It's so easy to hate. It takes strength to be gentle and kind. Anyway, moving on. Dad turns up at the bungalow when he trusts himself to be nice. Christmas mornings are the odd birthday, and he is nice. I'm always glad to see him on these days, although I can't quite reconcile this new cajoling charmer with the dearth of my memory. He and Mum circle each other like JR and Sue Ellen, but without the oil fields or shoulder pads. I don't know who JR and Sue Ellen are. Unless you know what? No, that's not who it is. Also without the flirtation. That if the atmosphere is always warm, it's warmed by sparring jokes. They're both funny, but Mum has less to prove. They know each other horribly well. It's like two countries that suffered the intimacy of being at war for years, now getting on by mildly taking the piss out of each other. Mom always wins by default because she knows how the war ended. She won. In public and after a gin or two, her touch isn't always so light. One Sunday lunchtime, I found myself sipping another Coke in a Woodhall Spa pub with Mum, trying to follow the chat between her and her old Woodhall friends. The trouble is, Pat, says her friend Jeff, that's the plain fact of the matter in Rhodesia, or whatever they want to call it now. Everyone says the same thing about the blacks. The blacks don't want to work. Mum, who has banned Cape apples from the house. Ooh, okay, he grew up in a progressive home. They were not eating Cape apples. They would not eat fruit from South Africa. Interesting. There's no pictures. That's true. Crush Satanist here says it takes guts to be gentle and kind. Yes, it also says that. He says it takes strength, and then he says it takes guts. And it's true. It's true. It's very easy, But it's very easy, or this situation where they take the piss out of each other, It's so easy to do that. Talking about his parents and how they treated each other after the divorce. But, if they'd both been really strong, they would have been kind to each other. It's sad. And it's just when I read about divorce too, it's like this situation is so heartbreaking. Mum, who has banned Cape apples from the house, purses her lips and waits until Jeff looks to the ceiling for his next insight. Then she briefly rolls her eyes at me. Jeff is one of the nicest guys around. It's just that his political views are typical of his time and place. She's slightly ahead, but she's no activist or campaigner. She'll ignore Jeff's comment because it isn't worth falling out with him and spoiling her favorite afternoon. Such is village life. But it's possible that she's still angry with Jeff or angry with herself when Dad walks in. By the way, his middle name is Frederick. Hey, Frederick. Why don't you drop a band, Yoda? Okay, by the way, his middle name is Frederick, and Mom has always called him Fred. I find this impressively grown up. Dad sees her too late and has to approach, warily and with a smile within his new beard. Now then, Pat. Fred, nice to see you. May I introduce you to Robert? He's your son. She says it slightly louder than necessary, and in a small pub, it's enough to cause a minor stir. Oh, wow. Okay. Yoda is very obsessed with this. He gets on a tangent about it, Sabrina. Don't take it personally. I mean, I already asked you to stop that. Like, why can't you just respect what I asked? Like, anyway. So yeah, she says it's slightly louder than necessary, and in a small pub, it's enough to cause a minor stir. It doesn't take much around here for a woman to get a reputation as outspoken, but she'll take the risk when it comes to Fred. Dad's smile remains intact as he nods at her slowly. All right, mate, all right. He turns to me. Now then, boy, I'm 12, but he takes one of my ears between his thumb and index finger and gives it an affectionate wobble and squeeze. Ow. Unfortunately, it's his sewn-on thumb, which has about 20 nerve endings. where there ought to be a million. The experience is quite painful, and I try not to wince. I know you bugger lugs, he tells me in a low, friendly voice. He ruffles my hair and immediately spots someone he simply has to talk to. Now, Keith, what have you done to the bloody weather? And off he goes. Maybe it was this public dad shaming that brought him to the bungalow a few weeks later to take me to a fireworks display. I wished he hadn't bothered. Guy Fawkes night was always exciting at the bungalow. A few grown-up friends round, jacket potatoes in the oven, Derek in the garden with a battered tin of cheap explosives, which he set off one at a time after reading the names out by the illumination of a cigarette lighter. That does sound kind of fun. But Mom has made some kind of point, so I'm encouraged to go. Besides, this new friendlier Darth is quite fun, even though I never managed to string 3 words together in his company. The fireworks are at the house of one of Dad's Woodhall Spa friends, Neil. He has a massive garden, and the display is unbelievably good. Multiple rockets go off as Catherine wheels whir, and Neil plays Handel's music for the royal fireworks loudly through a stereo speaker poking out of an upstairs window. Neil appears to be a fair bit wealthier than most people, and I start to think of him as the village millionaire. The fact that he and his wife are 2 of those rare and glamorous people who went to university, coupled with the classical music, persuades me that he is also the village intellectual. Oh dear. Why can't y'all just love each other? Why does my chat have to be so ugly? Why? Why does it have to be so ugly? Why can't y'all just love each other? Why? He's a generous host with amiable manners, and I like his voice. He sounds like some of the grammar school boys grown up. He's even been to Tuscany. After the main event, we're left with a house party. Incredibly, the place has about 3 downstairs rooms, none of which are the kitchen. I'm shepherded into one of them with some noisy older kids whom I don't know. Luckily, I won't have to talk to anyone because there is to be some kind of film presentation. Yes, the village millionaire has a video cassette recorder. The movie is called Flashdance. Oh, thank you, Sabrina. Shout out to Sabrina. Sabrina has also generously donated to the channel. Thank you. Much appreciated. And Yoda's FAS treatment. I'm not sure what FAS means, but yes, I hope it has, you understand it has hurt me more than it has hurt you. Oh, goodness. Yes. Okay, so Flashdance is the movie he did the dance from when he was on some comic relief program. He dressed up like Jennifer Beals' character with the wig and like the leotard, and he did the routine for this comedy show. That's like a comic relief is like a fundraiser for charity that they do in England that's on TV. So yeah, he did that as an adult. Indeed, Frederick, indeed. Indeed. Well, anyway. It tells the improbable story of a young woman called Alex who works as a welder but wants to be a ballerina. I get the feeling I'm a bit young to be watching this. Well, that with all the swearing and regular flashes of naked breasts in the backstage scenes. Still, that audition dance Alex does at the end. I mean, it's not like watching Michael Jackson, but it's definitely very good. Sadly, Flashdance is obviously a girl's film. I have heard so many men, though, from that era tell me that they were in love with Jennifer Beals because of that movie. Like she was one of their first crushes, or like, they just, so I don't know. I guess it's a girl's film and it's because the main character is a woman, but it seemed like a lot of guys were into that film. And I don't know if it's just like because she was so attractive or what, but I don't know. I've met a number of men who definitely liked that film. What a pity. I nearly enjoyed that. Afterwards, Dad sits with me on the stairs. Oh God, he's making an effort. Who have you been talking to, boy? I don't really know anyone, so what do you got there, boy? A Coke? Yeah. Do you want some of my beer? No, thanks. I can get you a shandy if you like. No, thanks. Eh? No, thanks. You don't want a shandy? No, thanks. He's looking at me, smiling wryly and nodding to himself. He says, I know you, Webby. Left to your own devices, you probably get yourself a beer and get pissed and go around snogging every girl in the house and feeling their titties. Oh my God, father-son bonding session right here. Briefly, I try to imagine myself doing this. Wouldn't you, boy? Wouldn't you? Slowly, I start nodding along with him as if his intimate knowledge of my brain and personality has unlocked a secret. Darth's on his fourth lager and obviously isn't going to let this go. I say, yeah. Eh? Yeah. Course you would. He seems satisfied with this. Right. I'll drive you back home to Mummy before I get paralytic. He banters most of the way home. I nod, smile, and laugh where appropriate. But I know I ought to be doing more talking. Being very quiet used to work fine for me, but since grammar school, some people are starting to interpret my silence as aloofness or some kind of snooty judgment. Yeah, I get that a lot too. And sometimes it is. People often, think that about me. I don't know. I don't want to say that I'm not judgmental. I mean, it's probably true, but I don't think I'm better than other people. I mean, I know I'm not. Anyway, moving on. That can't be right, I think. Usually I just don't have anything quite to say, but it's worse around chatty, confident, quite pissed people like Dad. He's pointing out the houses that he wired where he worked as an electrician with his own father. Now we're passing woods or rivers where he used to shoot or fish. And this is how the village has changed, and this is how it will never change. Some things will never change, boy. Fuck off. I'm growing to hate all this village stuff. They're right. Half the time I am making snooty judgments. I do have ideas above my station. If for no other reason than above my station is where I might get some fucking air. Oh man, relatable. Relatable, Robert. Okay. Oh my goodness. Well, you are interested in how things work in his little world. You were asking. Why wouldn't those kids shut the fuck up when I was trying to watch Flashdance? It's like they didn't care about the beautiful welder who wanted to become a famous ballerina. And how come it turns out that Dad used to take Mark and Andrew fishing? Why does he assume I wouldn't be interested in fishing? I might love fishing. Okay, keep your bloody fish. This place crushes me. He crushes me. What do you want to be? What do you want to be when you grow up then, boy? He asks. I do the usual, computers. It's the fastest way to close down this sensitive line of inquiry. Nobody over 20 has the faintest idea what a job involving computers could possibly mean, so it works quite well. I don't tell him what I really want to do for a living. It's not that I don't know. It's just that I'm trying to avoid knowing. There's an idea, just half a secret though. It's so embarrassing. It's almost frightening, like seeing yourself naked. No one would believe me if I told them. Okay. Interesting. So that was chapter 4. And it's 8:43, so I should probably cut it, cut it here. We've been doing about a chapter a stream. I've been on for 2 hours. I think that's good. Interesting book. Okay, so that was the chapter about how boys are not brave, or boys are brave. Excuse me, boys are brave, but our Robert isn't. All right. Thank you for being here, y'all. Thanks for the super chats. Shout out to Fred and Stacy. My goodness. Bloody fish equals British fish. Indeed, bloody fish. Goodness, I hated fishing. My dad took me fishing. Hated it. I'm not outdoorsy. I am not into that stuff. I loved eating fish. I'll say that. I did love eating them. We had a smoker and we would smoke salmon and it was so good. Like, just the smell of it, the wood in the smoker, and then the fresh salmon. It would just come out. It was like better than candy. God, it was delightful. But so I mean, my uncle's fishing. We went on some fishing trips, but I really hated it. It's nasty business. I don't like fishing. I don't like fishing with a pole. I don't like fishing with a net. I do not like fishing. And it's grim. It's very grim. You know what I mean? It's just killing all these fish. I'm not up for it. But there is something about having that fresh fish that, I miss. Thank you. S.A. Brady also made a donation here saying good night. Thank you, hon. Well, this light is pretty bright right now. It's gotten dark enough for it to be well bright. Let's see. What do you think about that color? How's that? All right, y'all. Thank you for joining me. Thanks for the lively chats, keeping it going, holding it down. Nice to see Sabrina here again in chat. And yeah, I'll be back another time. I may go on tomorrow night to do another chapter if I'm up for it. So if not, I'll see you Saturday. Hopefully. You'll see me again soon. We'll figure it out. We'll make something happen. Okay? But thanks for being here. Remember to keep it strange, and I'll see you soon. Bye.